Welcome to the Projector Movement podcast. My name's Charlie and I'm the founder of the Projector Movement, and I'm extremely excited to bring you this podcast from the whole Projector Movement team. We'll be bringing you stories, conversations, and life experiences as projectors. We first and foremost honor each individual at their core and let human design be a guide, not a rulebook, in our lives. We'll dive deep into topics that bring your projector essence alive. This is for you, the 20% of the world that is inherently different than everybody else. We're projectors, we're different, and we love it.
Hello, projectors. Welcome to the Projector Movement podcast. If this is a new voice for you, my name is Sarah Lemmerman, and I'm so excited to be here. For those who don't know me, I am the deconditioning specialist with the Projector Movement, as well as one of the lead trainers. I am a 5-1 splenic projector with the left angle cross of endeavor. And I am really looking forward to being here and leading my first podcast on this domain. So welcome. Today, we are going to be talking about embodiment as a projector, which is the essential ingredient for the deconditioning journey. Wherever you are, if you are new to human design, if you've been doing human design, deconditioning for a while, we really want to stress the importance of embodiment. So before I get into that, what I want to offer and give to everybody listening to this podcast right now is when many of us found out we were projectors, we, number one, felt really validated, and most likely acquired a lot of information and got lost in research and trainings and these sorts of things, because if you were like me, I felt seen and validated, and there were words and descriptions of things I've never been able to really articulate or understand about myself. And this is actually step one of the deconditioning process, is recognizing, hearing you're a projector, and then reading a lot of information. Now, I've been working with projectors for the last 7 years or so. And what I can say is, as we decondition, there's a lot of, I don't like to use the word problems, but where I see people kind of get stuck is that projectors, particularly, we're really good at acquiring a lot of knowledge. So we've received a lot of information from books, from resources, and so we're quite top heavy with wisdom. But when it comes to embodying it, meaning actually living, feeling, speaking like a projector, we can get stuck. And that's no fault to our own. So I want to remove any sort of shame or blame wherever you're at in your process. If you feel that there's just this disconnect from all of the wisdom you understand about being a projector, but perhaps not fully able to feel that you're living in that deconditioned way. So I want to offer that we cannot, meaning projectors cannot, read our way through the deconditioning process to align to our success. I wish it was so easy as that, but life has it a different way. So why I find that projectors have a hard time moving into the body is that's where, unfortunately, a lot of us have stored painful memories, emotions. We've developed unhealthy coping skills to survive, I'll say, to live in a world that was built for generators. We have had to cut off part of ourselves create ways to exist that are stuck in our body and creating a disconnect between our projector essence, which is a slower rhythm, which is a more feminine, receptive way of being in the world, which is not pushing our opinions or thoughts on other people and feeling comfortable not doing that. It is having space and time in nature. It's having space and time to be alone. It's feeling comfortable being alone. It is feeling that you are receiving aligned invitations and have the ability and discernment to say yes or no. It is a calmer mind. It is a open to the universe and to life. There is a trusting element there. So all of these qualities come when we can begin to go into the body and honestly and lovingly and compassionately unpack the parts of ourselves that are no longer serving us that once did. So that is, in a nutshell, why the embodiment practice, or why beginning to go inside, to look inside to discover what needs to be felt, what needs to be readdressed with love, what needs to be soothed, what needs to be altered, is when we get to the real nuts and bolts and beauty of the deconditioning process. And when our insides are in alignment, then our projector aura, which is the most penetrative, which is actually how projectors really communicate with others, isn't through our words, but through the energy that is emitted through our aura. When our internal system is in alignment with our true self, is when our projector aura is emitting our success frequency, it's emitting a clear frequency, and life can align to us. So I want to get into a couple of behaviors or coping mechanisms that I find common that projectors have or have adopted to exist in this generating world, that can stand in front of or block our projector frequency from coming through in the way that life has designed it to come through. And while I name some of these coping mechanisms or behaviors, again, I invite you to receive this information with compassion, with love, with a sense of, I'm quite brilliant that I created this strategy. And I am grateful that I've had this strategy up until this point, because life as a projector, where I didn't know this as a young child, as a young adult, as an adult, wherever we're at on that journey, I didn't have this knowledge. And so my sophisticated self, this inner part of myself at a very young age, developed strategies to survive. And so when I start to go over these strategies, I want there to be a sense of compassion, as I said, and the opposite of any shame, judgment, or that you're doing anything wrong. There's nothing wrong. We're not doing anything wrong. We've actually been doing the best we can. So while I bring these up to you right now, just take notice. Is this something that you relate to? Is this something that you weren't aware was perhaps causing the deconditioning process to stall, or things like this? Just become aware. So a common behavior that I see projectors have trouble with, and for those of you who know me, this is the world I live in, is we have poor boundary issues. Okay, so a boundary is knowing when and what I want in my life, and when and what I want out of my life. It is also our ability to say no to people. No is one of the biggest boundaries we have, and that's something I find projectors have a very hard time with, because we have developed, unfortunately, over time, a sense of self in giving away our advice, our wisdom, our time for free. And we feel good perhaps in the moment, but a lot of us become quite bitter because we've given so much away and we aren't being recognized, seen, or even paid for what we're doing. So just begin to take a moment and see in your life if you see that you have perhaps poor boundaries. That could be with time, that could be with saying no, that could be with creating space intentionally for yourself to be away from the world. So a boundary away from others. So just notice that and see, wow, yeah, that's an area I can see. And if I were to say there was one commonality amongst projectors, it would be this particular area. So much so that I've actually deemed that projectors are inherent boundary crossers because we have an open sacral. And we literally, the way that we become in our projector essence is that when we are with another person, our sacral's going into their field. So we actually are designed to kind of cross people's boundaries in that way, which is why we have the strategy of waiting for the invitation. So that strategy is there so that we actually don't cross people's boundaries that we aren't supposed to be crossing. That's another subject though. Okay, so moving into boundary issues, we've talked about saying no. Another area that projectors can fall into is an area of perfectionism. Okay, now this is not just a women's only condition. I would call it a cultural condition, but perfectionism actually is considered a trauma response, where our nervous system is actually hyped up because we are feeling underneath that if I'm not perfect, then I'm not worthy. And this is an area that a lot of projectors, because we've been in this world not really fully understanding ourselves, we can develop a lot of underlying beliefs that we aren't worthy. And therefore, to prove that worth, we have adopted a hypervigilant, being perfect, doing things perfectly, overdoing things, having such high standards, and it flares our sensitive systems. All of these coping mechanisms I'm discussing with you today all affect our sensitive systems and cause nervous system dysregulation. So that's why I'm bringing this up as well. So when we are doing perfectionism, when we are not saying no, when we have poor boundaries, these things cause our systems to be overrun. Burnout comes in, exhaustion comes in, also hyperactive thinking or hypervigilance comes in, because we are running at a heightened state. So two other coping mechanisms that I'm going to bring up with today that I see are codependency with projectors. So getting our self-worth met through the other person, or believing that for me to feel full, I must be with another person. So having this external or outer focus is a common mechanism that projectors adopt throughout life. And there's many reasons that this is. Again, a lot of us find safety with an open sacral when we're plugged into somebody else. And so we've naturally just done that. And yet this strategy, codependency, is extremely exhausting, taxing, and is not where our projector essence will come through in its fullest. And lastly, and I'm I'm so sensitive to this one as well, because it's kind of an overhanger or an umbrella to our culture. Codependency is one, as well as addiction. And now I want to define addiction is not just only to substances. For me, addiction in the eyes of projectors is we reach outside ourselves to find some sort of soothing strategy or some sort of behavior modification that's not within our own nervous system or self. That could be a drug, that could be shopping, that could be overly researching or keeping our minds on so much because we're so afraid to stop or pause. And so we need something outside of us to soothe us. So another common behavior that I see that we have that blocks us from truly finding safety and space and slowness and trust in the body. So all of these different behaviors that I just listed, again, without shame, without judgment, just noticing. If you see these in your lives, it's actually a beautiful thing, because when we bring things to the light is when we can begin with compassion and love to slowly understand and learn new ways that weren't taught to us throughout our entire life, learn new ways to begin to feel more empowered within our own system as a projector. And if we've been living with some of these behaviors for most of our life, the side effect of that is a dysregulated nervous system. Now, I would offer that many people in this world at this time have dysregulated nervous systems living in a fight or flight response. However, if you're a generator with that, you have a bit more tenacity to deal with it. I'm not saying that that's an idealized state for them to live either. But when you're a projector and you have a system that's, your nervous system is dysregulated or misfiring, or you're living in a heightened state of stress, the impact is more brutal. Things like chronic fatigue syndrome, autoimmune disorders, emotional volatility, physical pain, fibromyalgia, anxiety, all these things can start developing because our systems are not meant to be living in such a heightened state. And when we are, we can have all the wisdom in the world. We can know how to save and change the world. But if our frequency is being triggered through these states of a dysregulated nervous system, then our aura is not omitting what life is wanting it to omit. And so it's not going to give us what we're actually here to do, because it's first saying you need to calm down. We need to come back into our bodies and find safety. So that is my offering to you at this time, is to begin to look within, to begin to make the descent, the scary descent for many of us, from the mind into the body. And I am excited because for the first time with Projector Movement, starting Wednesday, September 7th, we will be offering a 4-week live embodiment training where we will be getting into actual practice, exercises, visualizations, where we will begin to make the descent into the body and begin to truly embody our frequency as a projector, so we can walk free in this world, in relaxation, in trust, in play, and receive the success that we're destined to receive. For more information, you can go to projectormovement.com, and the link for the embodiment training is at the top. And we look forward to seeing you there. It will be led by myself. And have, wherever you are, have a beautiful day. Take a few moments to pause and take a deep breath, or a few deep breaths, to feel your feet on the floor, and to feel proud of yourselves for one thing that you've done today. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. We love that you're here with us. If you're not already part of our community over on Instagram, come and join us at Projector Movement. We also have an amazing free webinar for projectors over on our website, along with some magical offerings that will serve as a guide in your life and will ignite your projector spirit. Head over to www.projectormovement.com. Until next time, journey well.